Hi there, scholars. Today we will be going over chapters 3 and 4, over Unit 10, Westward Expansion Before the Civil War. All you're going to need for this lesson is the electronic reader so you can follow along, a pen or a pencil, and of course your packet. Let's get started. So our agenda today, I'm going to state our objective and what we're expected to learn. We're going to discuss our big question. I'm going to read chapter 3 to you, and you're going to read chapter 4 on your own. And then I'm going to go over the student work, explain the directions, and then of course our reminders and goodbye at the end. So our objective today is I can explain the ways settlers and government officials pushed Native Americans out of their homelands, including broken promises and treaties. That'll be chapter 3. And in chapter 4, it's I can identify the improvements made in transportation and explain how these improvements affected travel. So we're going to be talking about how Native Americans were pushed out of their homeland, and we're also going to talk about innovations in transportations. The big question of chapter 3 is Native American resistance. So your question is, why was it a struggle for Native Americans to hold on to their land? So in this chapter, scholars, it's important to understand that Western expansion often caused conflict with Native people. And as we read together, I want you to look in the text for reasons why Native Americans struggled to hold on to their land. Chapter 3, Native Americans' Resistance. Fallen timbers. Some settlers moving west like to say they were moving to empty land. The land, however, was far from empty. Much of it was inhabited by Native Americans, who had lived there for hundreds, even thousands of years. With every new push westward by pioneers, the resentment of the Native American inhabitants grew. So resentment means that they were starting to become very angry with the pioneers and the settlers. From time to time, organized fighting broke out. In an attempt to protect their land, Native Americans attacked groups of pioneers traveling on the Wilderness Trail. They raided settlements in the new states and territories. They fired arrows at settlers traveling on flatboats on the Ohio River. The settlers and the U.S. Army troops attacked and killed Native Americans in return. Many conflicts occurred and many lives were lost. Native American nations in the Ohio Territory managed to win several victories against the United States Army. In particular, the Battle of the Wabash in 1791 brought about one of the worst defeats in the U.S. Army by Native Americans. For Native Americans, this was their biggest victory. However, they were unable to stop the constant flow of settlers. They were also unable to prevent the American government from passing laws that allowed people to settle on what was once Native American land. In 1794, several Native American tribes were finally defeated at the Battle of Fallen Timbers near the present-day city of Toledo. They were forced to give up nearly all of Ohio and move further west. As the Native Americans left Ohio Territory, settlers poured in. Soon, there were enough settlers living there for Ohio to become a state in 1803. Before long, settlers began to push into the Indiana Territory right next door. The governor of Indiana was William Henry Harrison, a man who would later become President of the United States. Governor Harrison did not try to drive the Native Americans out by force. Instead, he pressured and tricked several of their chiefs. So I want you to think right now, how did the American pioneers force Native Americans from their homelands based on the text we just read? Go ahead and take a few minutes and think about your answer. If you said that pioneers moved onto the Native American land, when fighting broke out, the Native Americans were forced to move away. Sometimes Native Americans were pressured or tricked into signing treaties to give up their land. You would be correct. So Native Americans were tricked into signing agreements to give up their land. The chief gave up huge amounts of their lands in exchange for a small amount of money, sometimes as little as half penny an acre. Tecumseh. A Shawnee Indian chief named Tecumseh watched the rising anger as one piece of Native American land after another was handed over to settlers. Tecumseh had been fighting against settlement since boyhood, when his father was killed by settlers. He had seen the remains of the Shawnee villages after army troops had destroyed them. He had tasted the bitterness of being forced to leave the tribe's lands in Ohio after the defeat at Fallen Timbers. Now in the Indiana Territory, he was determined to stop the loss of Native American land. "These lands are ours," he declared. "No one has the right to remove us, because we were the first owners. The Great Spirit above has appointed this place for us, on which to light our fires, and here we will remain." After learning of another Native American sale of land, Tecumseh exploded. "Sell a country? Why not sell the air, the clouds, and the great sea, as well as the earth? Did not the Great Spirit make them all for us to use of his children?" Unlike Americans, Native Americans did not believe that land could actually be owned. But Tecumseh knew it would take more than words to stop the settlers from coming. He believed that uniting was the only way for Native Americans to do that. Tecumseh spent several years traveling up and down the frontier, urging Native American nations to join together. A number of them did. Meanwhile, Governor Harrison watched Tecumseh's successes with growing concern. In 1811, while Tecumseh was in the South urging more chiefs to join him, Harrison sent 900 American soldiers to the site of the Shawnee village on the Tippecanoe River. The soldiers camped near the Native American settlement. While Tecumseh was gone, his brother Tenskwatawa ordered the Shawnee to attack the American soldiers. Tenskwatawa told the Shawnee that the soldiers' bullets could not hurt them. It was a fatal mistake. The Shawnee attack began the Battle of Tippecanoe. Harrison's forces defeated the Shawnee and burned their village to the ground, and Tecumseh returned to find his home in ruins. Worse still, the defeat at the Tippecanoe weakened Tecumseh's efforts to get other Native American nations to unite with the Shawnee. Revenge. Tecumseh promised revenge. For the next year, Native Americans in the Northwest Territories attacked settlers. When the United States went to war against Great Britain in 1812, Tecumseh joined with British forces and led several Native American tribes into battle against the Americans. His anger towards the Americans knew no limit. "We gave them forest-clad mountains and valleys full of game," Tecumseh told the British general, and in return, what they did, they gave our warriors and our women rum and the trinkets and a grave. In 1813, however, Tecumseh was killed. His dream of protecting Native American lands died, but other Native American leaders continued to fight. Alright, scholars, this is the end of Chapter 3 of Native American Resistance. In one sentence, text me the answer to our big question for a growth point. I can't wait to start seeing these texts roll in. Next, you're going to read Chapter 4, Improvements in Transportations, on your own. Remember, you can access the reader on Clever by following the link attached to this video. Your student work for today is to go over vocabulary we have been learning in this unit. So believe it or not, the unit is almost halfway through, and I just want to make sure that we're staying on top of not only learning the content, but also understanding vocabulary. So make sure to fill out this crossword puzzle for today's independent work. Remember to always check your student email for Google Meet invites. Check your daily checklist for work that needs to be completed. Watch math and ELA videos. And if you need help with your work, be sure to call or text me. My contact hours are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. All right, scholars, I'm logging off for the day. I hope you have a great night. Thank you. Bye.